So Big Al and I talked about this. We were planning on doing another Star Wars book study starting next month. We still are. But we had planned on doing Dark Lord: Rise of Darth Vader by James Luceno. We did Darth Plagueis a while back. We absolutely loved it. We were blown away. What a classic! It's so great. And I heard so many good things about this. And Al has to have an unabridged audio version for him to be able to follow along with the text and everything because of, some medications he's on and whatever. And so we try to stick to those for right now. And they released an unabridged audio of this. Well, I need to read these stories first myself just to have an overall general idea of what goes on in them before I can go ahead and do a book study where I'm really kind of going through a little bit more minutely. So I listened to the audible of it while I'm, reading my Jedi Academy. I listened to the audible version of Star Wars: The Dark Lord. It's read by Mark Thompson. Of course, Mark Thompson, the great, Star Wars narrator. He can do the voices so well. I am just not impressed by this at all. There's some great things in it, and I'll talk about what great things are in it. And I think if you're a Star Wars fan and you want to experience these great things, you should definitely check it out. I know I'm talking about some Star Wars EU novels tonight and not really giving them glittering reviews, and that's rare. But this just isn't that good. I was hoping for Darth Vader to receive the Darth Bane treatment. The Darth Bane trilogy, which I think came later anyway, didn't it? But the Darth Bane trilogy, wow, that's amazing, right? You're following this villain and you're in the villain's perspective. And I don't like stories where the villain's the main character if they're going to try to make him the protagonist or whatever. Like, I hate the Joker treatment, the Joker movie. In something like the Star Wars universe, though, that Darth Bane isn't going to survive. That Darth Vader, we already know his end. He will be redeemed in the very last moment of his life, but he will be redeemed. We know that. So we also know that he's like numero uno badass, when you first introduced to him, for the first time the world was introduced to him in New Hope there. So this book, The Rise of Darth Vader, Dark Lord, well, that promises to show how he becomes the great big badass. And that's in there. That is in there. The scenes that have to do with Darth Vader are great. It really takes you through, this newly minted Darth Vader from the fallen Anakin Skywalker, because Anakin's story is a tragic fall of a hero who will be redeemed one day. But, he becomes Darth Vader as almost a very different person, as Obi-Wan, isn't even trying to speak in riddles when he says Darth Vader killed your father. In a very real way, he did. But you get to see that transition, and you get in Darth Vader's perspective, learning how to breathe with these machines and walk with limbs that aren't his. And it's like, man, that really, there's a process of him really, because Anakin was so good with droids anyway, that he works with his body and creates a better one, an optimal one, and changes his fighting style with his lightsaber. He's not the energy bomb, athletic Anakin Skywalker anymore. He calls in the Force a lot more, but he's so much more powerful in the Force now. So it's, all of that's great. And the journey that Darth Vader goes on in the book is really great. You see what Emperor Palpatine, had planned for Darth Vader, why he needs Darth Vader. You get a clear idea of Palpatine's vision for the Sith and the rule of two kind of going forward now. It's not the same as Darth Bane's exactly, but it's but that just fleshes out the universe so much. It's so great. Here's the problem with it. That's like maybe a fourth of this book. The rest of this book is we have to follow these Jedi who somehow escape Order 66. It gives you some things like the clones. This is before the Clone Wars series and all of that. So in this, the Order 66, the clones weren't programmed to suddenly flip a switch and want to kill Jedi. The clones were programmed to always follow the orders of the Chancellor. And so when the Chancellor says, hey, kill the Jedi, you've got the clones suddenly asked to kill their companions, their fellows in arms, their brothers in arms, the Jedi who fought beside them, who've been their commanding officers for so long. And it makes sense that a lot of clone troopers in that respect would question that order, would be like, okay, yeah, but I need it explained to me somehow. How come they're worthy of killing so far? I need a little something more here. It makes sense. The Clone Wars series, the crappy Filoni, Clone Wars, whatever, there was great stuff in that series. But one of the things they did, which I hate to say it's an actual better idea, but it was like click in their programming, in their mind somehow, that it was just like it was unquestioned. We kill these Jedi now, which is tragic because these are clones that, would have come to have great relationships with these Jedi and so forth. So it's okay. All right. If you're going to make it to where they're just programmed to always follow the orders of the Chancellor, but they feel this conflict about suddenly being asked to turn on their commanding officers and, these Jedi who've been their companions for so long. A lot of clones then, in that case, you could imagine, would question the orders, not refuse them, but you could see a lot more Jedi slipping through the cracks than did. In this novel, they try to tell us that Order 66 is just that. It's just that the clones are told to follow the Palpatine's orders, but only this one clone trooper is the only one that questions the order or delays a little bit and neglects actually killing his Jedi companions enough for them to get away. I don't buy that would only happen once. But so anyway, this Jedi Master escapes. He escapes with this fellow Jedi Master and her Padawan. The fellow Jedi Master ends up, dying, buying it by Darth Vader at some point. And so we see this Jedi Master out there who's kind of lost his touch with the Force a little bit, especially in the years of the Clone Wars. And there's a really cool juxtaposition of his losing touch with the Force and trying to come back to some sort of center with it in his, coming to terms with, fighting Darth Vader or, going after him or whatever. And Darth Vader himself trying to find his new place in the dark side of the Force. There's some really cool thematic things, juxtapositions and stuff like that that's going on there. But we had way too much of these Jedi. At this point in the story, in the universe, I don't care about random new Jedi that happen to escape Order 66 for a while. If they escaped and were any kind of count or any kind of, went on to do anything magical in the universe, we'd have more stories. We'd find out more about them, after the original trilogy or whatever. So I don't like that. And then the real nail in the coffin for this book with me is that Jedi Padawan. This was in 2005, and I'll talk about that in a second. This is before Luceno went on to write The Great Darth Plagueis. This is before Clone Wars gave us the insufferable Ahsoka Tano. There is this Jedi Padawan in this book who is amazeballs. She's just a Jedi Padawan, but she serves as the leader. She gathers all of these Jedi masters and Jedi Knights, people way older than her, way more experienced than her. She starts putting out the feelers and trying to find survivors, and they all just look to her because she's a leader, and she's demanding that we go do this, this, and that. And oh, by the way, her name, not making this up, her name is Starstone. I mean, this is such an insufferable little biatch of a character. Now, I can't say she's a Mary Sue because she does make mistakes and she feels bad about the mistakes, but I just I don't care. I don't care about this character that James Luceno is trying to shove down my throat. I care very little about any of the Jedi characters in this story because I wanted more of Darth Vader's transition. I don't care to be hanging out with these guys or whatever. A little bit of it's fine. A little bit of it in the thematic juxtaposition with him and Vader, that's cool. Fine, develop that. But Starstone, you can look at her. This was 2005. She really is sort of the prototype for the rabid Mary Sue we would get with Ahsoka and ultimately with Rey Skywalker and all this kind of nonsense characters. And Starstone, by the way, she goes up against Darth Vader. A Jedi Padawan, mind you, goes up against Darth Vader at one point. Now, in the story, Vader's not too interested in even dealing with her. He really wants her master. He really wants the Jedi Master guy. He jumps away from him and escapes. And granted, in the story, you can see that Darth Vader's not too interested in her. He would be, though. You didn't sell it to me why he wouldn't be interested in her. She's a Jedi, too, Padawan or not. He would slam her down in a second. Why didn't he go after her? Why didn't he kill her? That's not explained. And now on Wikipedia, in our post-Rey and post-Ahsoka glory, universe, if you go on Wikipedia and look up Starstone, she's also one of the only women Jedi who stood her ground against Darth Vader. Long before Ahsoka Tano also had to be able to stand her ground against Darth Vader and blah, 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 blah. No. That was kind of the nail in the coffin for this book for me, is that Starstone survived. That pissed me off so much. No. So I will never read the book again. I will probably go through and find some of the scenes that were so cool about Darth Vader's development and by the end and stuff like that, because that's great. But I don't recommend this book. If you want to go through and thumb through and just find some of the Darth Vader scenes, great. I don't know, you know, again, it was the 2005 mid-aughts, and we had all this crappy, messaging that was going to come on board. I mean, you don't need to write a female character like that. Why is the only female character you can write Filoni? That was Filoni's biggest problem. He can only write the all-wise, madam, mentor, matron character, are the not going to take no guff off of nobody. I'm super strong and independent and I do things for myself. It's like, enough of those crappy little characters. We've got so many wonderfully strong, well-written female characters in the Star Wars universe. Why do you keep going to this really tried and annoying archetype? And again, this came out before it, but I think you can see the forerunner of that in this character, Starstone. Didn't help that Mark Thompson does a really crazy, annoying voice for her too. So I don't know. That's just me on that. But yeah. Roan Shrine and Oli Starstone. Yeah, thank you. I couldn't remember the master's name, but yeah, Shrine. Roan Shrine and Oli Starstone is her name. Pass. Roan Shrine's a good character. And he's got an interesting arc. But I just wasn't as interested in following a Jedi in this story. I wanted a Darth Bane treatment for Darth Vader. Maybe that's my unfair expectations coming to the novel, but I just thought it should have been so much more because it's Darth freaking Vader. And you named the title Dark Lord, The Rise of Darth Vader. I want to see way more Vader, Yeah, Starstone. Wasn't that My Little Pony series? Yeah. What is this, a My Little Pony Star Wars series? It does sound like that. Yeah, I mean, you got Skywalker, Star Killer, Starstone. Like, what?